Millionaire found his black adoptive mother, who had been missing for 30 years, in a nursing home when he went to make a donation. "Please, sir, she can't stay here anymore. She's causing too much trouble," begged the head nurse, dragging a 72-year-old black woman through the corridors of Golden Years Nursing Home. David Thompson immediately stopped signing the $500,000 check. At 35, the CEO of one of Chicago's largest construction companies never imagined a simple charitable donation would change his life forever. "What's going on here?" he asked. The nurse sighed heavily. "It's the patient in room 247, Rosa Johnson. She has advanced dementia and keeps disturbing residents with fantasies about a son who never existed." David felt something strange in his chest. Rosa Johnson. Why did it sound familiar? She swears she had a son named David who became very rich. She spends all day drawing buildings and saying he's coming back for her. David's world stopped. His name, buildings. Rosa looked up and fixed her eyes on him. For a moment, she appeared to regain complete lucidity. "David, my boy, you've grown so much," she whispered in a voice that awakened memories buried for decades. "See? She does that with every man," the nurse laughed nervously. But David was no longer listening. Fragmented images flooded his mind. A black woman singing lullabies, hands preparing oatmeal, homemade cookies, a sweet voice calling, "My Prince," before bedtime. David had been adopted at age 5 after his nanny had personal problems, according to his adoptive parents. But now, looking at this woman, he began to understand his golden childhood had been built on a terrible lie. "How did you get here?" Rosa weakly held his hand. "They said you were better off without a poor black nanny. They sent me away and I could never see you again." Over the next 3 days, David spent every minute at the nursing home. "You liked Mickey Mouse pancakes," Rosa whispered. "The man in the suit came with papers. Mr. Morrison, Charles Morrison. He said if I didn't leave quietly, they would arrest me for kidnapping. He gave me $500 and said it was for a new life, but I didn't want money. I wanted my boy." David called his assistant. "Jake, I need you to investigate Nurse Patricia Wells." That night, Jake called with information that shattered David's world. Patricia Wells receives an extra $2,000 monthly from an offshore account controlled by Morrison and Associates, and Rosa wasn't admitted for wandering the streets. She was transferred from a private psychiatric clinic where she'd been hospitalized for 25 years. Guess who authorized it? Richard Thompson, your adoptive father. David brought a private medical team. Dr. Amanda Foster's conclusions were devastating. This woman does not have dementia. She has signs of severe psychological trauma and effects of prolonged, inappropriate psychiatric medication. Someone was deliberately drugging her to keep her confused. David confronted Patricia. "You have 24 hours to hand over all of Rosa's real medical records from the last 30 years. The files revealed a sinister network. David hired Michael Rodriguez, the best investigative lawyer in Chicago. We're talking about a criminal operation involving at least 2 wealthy families, a law firm, 3 psychiatric clinics, and state officials. At least 15 cases in the last 40 years. David visited Rosa. "Do you remember other caregivers who disappeared like you? Carmen, who took care of the Mitchell twins, and Martha, who raised the Wilsons' daughter. She tried to sue the family. They found her dead at home 3 weeks later. Overdose, they said." That night, Richard Thompson called. "David, I hope you're not letting yourself be fooled by the fantasies of a psychiatric patient." The coldness in Richard's voice made David realize how blind he'd been. David brought the case to prosecutor Janet Williams. "If we can prove half of what's in these documents, we're going to dismantle one of the largest family corruption networks in Chicago history." The operation began on a Tuesday morning when federal agents simultaneously raided 17 addresses. David watched Richard Thompson being handcuffed. Richard called from the police station. This is a terrible misunderstanding. Like the misunderstanding of separating a child from the only person who truly loved him? David replied with deadly calm. You gave me lies wrapped in privilege. Janet Williams' press conference was broadcast live. Rosa sat next to David, lucid and dignified. For 3 decades, a criminal network operated freely in Chicago, separating poor families and selling their children to wealthy families. Today, that operation comes to an end. The evidence was presented. Bank transfers, falsified records, recordings, testimonies from 15 victim families. Margaret Thompson called that night. Our reputation is destroyed. We've lost everything. You got what Rosa deserved. Justice. But we really loved you. You loved the version of me that suited you, but you never loved me enough to tell me the truth. David bought Rosa a comfortable home in the best neighborhood with a kind caregiver and all the medical support she needed. Now we make sure this never happens to anyone else. I'm going to use every penny I have to create a national system to protect vulnerable families. 2 years later, David stood in the office of the Rosa Johnson Foundation for Family Protection. Through the windows, he could see the former golden years, now transformed into the Rosa J. Onsen Welcome Center. Rosa entered carrying homemade cookies. At 74, she radiated peace. How are our boys doing? She asked, referring to the other 15 children reunited with their biological families. Janet Williams called. Richard Thompson has filed another appeal. It has been denied. He will serve the full 25 years. Richard cleaned bathrooms and faced contempt from other inmates. Margaret suffered a complete nervous breakdown in a psychiatric clinic, ironically medicated against her will. Patricia Wells lost her medical license permanently. David and Rosa's story became a national phenomenon. The documentary won 3 Emmys. 5 states passed stricter laws against illegal adoption schemes. Do you know what makes me happiest? Rosa said. Knowing that our pain has become healing for other people. Mom. Rosa, tonight there's another family reuniting at the center. Would you like to come? Always, my son. Always. As they walked together, David realized he had found something no amount of money could buy. The peace of being exactly where he belonged with a person who had loved him since the first day of his life.